was a very, very educative and informative evening for me. I had accidentally met the city's most successful marriage counselor. And over the dinner, I had a long talk. My inquisitive mind, always groping for information and with singularly focus to learn from experts and professionals. There was a great deal of learning from me, and that's what I'm going to share with my audiences today, my friends today. Because the question comes to my mind with so many unhappy marriages, unhappy families I see. They can marriage counseling helps? Is it really helpful? He says, my friend says that this year more than I think 2,000 couples they sought help from his counseling to stabilize their marriage, to bring some understanding among them. The most of these men and women have only the fizziest idea of what marriage counseling is. They just heard his name and came. My friend, it's not surprising. There's this confusion in the marriage and among the couples exists. Marriage counseling actually is comparatively is a recent idea. In earlier age, there was nothing known as marriage counselors. Even the family heads and seniors, elders was enough to see that the marriage is happy and there is a perfect understanding established. He said, basically, he said that counseling is to provide a clear picture of what the average couple can expect from counseling. Simple. And my friend, perhaps the biggest single misconception is that a counselor gives advice. Time and again, he tells me that every client which approaches him, they will ask, what should I do? Unlike a doctor, a counselor does not prescribe a remedy. What he actually does is try to do, says my friend, that is to help couples come to grips with their problems, so that they can work them out themselves. The counselor does not blame. The counselor does not judge. The counselor does not take sides. He tries to help a person analyze his marriage simply. Counselor has been described as a blank paper on which one draws a picture of his difficulties, problems. One can stand back and view them in a new perspective. That's what he does. After hearing my friend marriage counselor, I realize each one of us can be a counselor, provided we are clear on certain things. Because no marriage practitioner in my country today requires a license to practice this profession. You have to have a little balanced mind, maturity, and you can go ahead. Don't charge fees, but really you can make so many marriages work, so many couples falling apart, get back to life again. My friend tells me that he had hundreds of couples say, just tell us which of us is right. And he says his consistent and regular answer has been that there is no right or wrong side in a marital disagreement. There are only different sides. Differences can often be understood, even removed. But first, we must try to understand these different feelings in right perspective. It is natural for a wife or a husband to want to find out what is or who is at fault. when things go wrong. To become aware of one's own contribution to the problem is very, very hard. The marriage counselor encourages one to talk about his marriage until he becomes aware of his own part in the problem. My friend, uh, what I have understood after having spoken to him for so long, a counselor's most important tool is the ability to ask questions that will make the disturbed couple re examine his own feelings and motives. The counselor can then uh, uh, guide them out of despair and self pity, help them to understand what is happening and why, and point out possible solutions to the problem. He tells me that most of the practitioners they prefer to see husband and wife separately with an occasional joint session. Sometimes a husband or wife will refuse to cooperate, but the counselors generally find that if the counseling begins to effect changes in one person, the other will come around surely. But at least one of them, one of the partner must start understanding, cooperating and start bringing changes in himself or herself. The guidance given to a husband or a wife alone, one uh, uh, is one's authority status is often sufficient to help the marriage services. There is no way to tell how long any counselors will take to make the couple understand each other and start on a happy note and see that there is no instant button to resolve all the problems and tension and uh, start happy go marry life again. A simple problem may be cleared up in a few sessions. A session, what the my friend tells me, usually lasts about 50 minutes, just few minutes less than an hour. A serious situation may require a once a week session for a year or longer. You can have alternate days or once in a week or somewhere they are sitting every day, depending upon the situation and the problem and the personality involved. And of course, the time available with the people. Success, my friend, doesn't necessarily mean that a reconciliation has been effected. Sometimes a counselor judges his work well done if a client realizes that his marriage is cannot be worked out, is totally incompatible, unworkable, and should be ended. A facade of symptoms, arguments over money, relatives, child rearing, friends, usually mask the basic problem of emotional immaturity and mental incompatibility. And that is the root of the most marital maladjustments, he tells me. Another element, he says, which is equally responsible is the ability of the husbands and wives, inability of the husbands and wife actually, to communicate their feelings to each other. The moment the communication stops, my friend, the relationship ends. It's dead. Surprisingly, he tells me the sex discord is not in itself a major cause of marital unhappiness. It is more often a symptom of other tensions. Marriage counselors generally take one of the three basic approaches, he tells me. summarized all the counselors. All the counselors come from different background. The first approach is that deal primarily with the problem in the marriage relationship. He focuses on the problem. The second approach is that counselor concentrates exclusively on the personality pattern of one of the personality pattern of one of the partner. And the third approach is subscribed by majority and most of the marriage counselor practitioners is with combining the both methods 1 and 2. First, the personality and the marital problems both. And he says these days the most popular marriage counseling is the going around is the group counseling. Is showing great promise, he says. Here, what happens in group counseling? Here, basically, several couples will meet at intervals to talk with one another about their problems. An expert, a mature counselor, he quietly sits and listens, occasionally interjects and guides the discussion. My friend, he says the group counseling is also popular because it offers lower fees. Is much shortens the waiting period and is very surely effective and definitely beneficial. Ultimately, by the time we finish our dinner, my friends gives a word of warning to all those who needs a marriage counselor or wants to help somebody is that shortage of qualified practitioners leaves a vacuum for those misguided zealots or quacks who rush to fill the gap because no one has to get a license to practice, become a marriage counselor practitioner in my country. End of the discussion, if I asked him, what is the single most advice you want to give it to everyone, every married couple for a happy married life? And he comes out to one tagline. I liked it and I concurred. Don't both get mad at the same time. Thank you very much.